Please try to explain to us why we should have a cyber security architecture. I know that this thing has been on since 2015, and most Nigerians seem to think that it is a new law.
Okay, I think the conversation, because of the cybersecurity levy, has been reduced solely to a conversation about a fee or a tax being paid by people, without also examining why that cybersecurity architecture is very important and integral to the overall national security of the nation. Now, again, I will not be holding brief for the Central Bank of Nigeria or for the Office of the National Security Advisor, but I would say that to a large extent, this levy and this conversation are important. The levy comes into play because Nigeria, again, it's not a small country, it's a developing country, it's a regional power, and by default, we are important on the continental and the world stage. Now, as a result of that, we face a lot of challenges and a lot of threats from state and non-state actors. Part of those threats are threats that come from the cyber realm. Now, maintaining adequate cyber security, adequate cyber defense, not just for government institutions, but for other critical aspects of our country, such as the banking sector, such as the data management systems, including, for example, the National Identity Management Commission. This is expensive. It's not cheap. It's not, in as much as we would like for it to be cheap, in as much as we would like for it to be free, it's not free. Training cybersecurity professionals, people who would actually be on the front line 24/7, protecting our institutions from, again, state and non-state threats, it's not cheap, it's expensive. So I can see to a reasonable extent why this levy was included in the Act from 2015. Again, a lot of people now have reduced the conversation to a conversation about 2024 and the current administration, but this is not true. This conversation has been in the Act, this policy has been in the Act since 2015, even as amended in 2024, and that's also important to remember. Now, again, when we talk about the threats, for example, that Nigeria faces on the cyber front, a lot of people are not familiar that, for example, countries like North Korea, they have a governmental policy of using hacking techniques and hacking methods to obtain money to fund the activities that are sanctioned by the UN. For example, their nuclear weapons program, their missile program. Now, of course, they target large countries such as the US, such as the UK, France, but they target countries that are also easier to penetrate. For example, in 2021, there was a lot of news articles out, for example, on BBC, on CNN, about the Lazarus Group, a North Korean cyber operations unit that hacked the Central Bank of Bangladesh. Again, Bangladesh is a country in South Asia comparable to Nigeria, with roughly 170 million people. A developing economy such as like ours, a close GDP to ours, and yet the North Koreans hacked the Bangladeshis and succeeded in making away with over $100 million from their central bank. Now, there's no reason to think that Nigeria is special and the North Koreans, for example, would not target Nigeria. And in order to protect from such threats, such potential threats, we do need trained cybersecurity professionals, paid, recruited, resourced, and managed by the government, the Office of the National Security Advisor. And that, unfortunately, is not cheap.